This is Paul. Yeah. You know, they have what's known as religious affinity fraud. Oh. The affinity fraud of those that are religious. Pooch. You know, there are a lot of churches that have been very helpful to me, but I really feel like I should be supporting myself because law enforcement enforcing my rights. Now, when I tell you that it's against the law to issue court orders where you did get paid and conspired to deprive me of my assets. Affinity fraud. Oh, it's one of those. See, fraud. Ooch. Now, affinity. Ooch. Secondary. Uh-huh. Uh, affinity of affinity. It sounds like infinity of infinity. Forever and ever and ever. Relationship by two marriage. Example, one stepmother, stepchild. A connection arises from marriage within either singularity nor affinity. A close agreement. The relation that one spouse has to the blood relatives of the other spouse. Relationship by marriage. Any familiar relation resulting from a marriage. You know, quite often when you marry an individual, you marry into their family. Yes. I was married in Kosovo, and the United Nations issued the marriage certificate. Yes. I married a woman named Heidi Lee Griggs. Yes. Recently divorced Marianne Waters. You yourself were very involved in that dissolution of marriage from Tim Hodges. I noticed there was a lot of motions for default because I did a little research on the Washington State Court website, and it seemed that Tim was not as responsive as I am as an American citizen. Could have been that Tim Hodges really didn't like going to those court hearings, but I'm one of these that when I get notice of a court hearing, I make it a point to go. Now, maybe somebody like to call old Judge Landis or Marion Waters that have facilitated the divorce from Tim Hodges because Heidi was married into multiple families. She was married into the Bosma family, yes, the Hodges family. Then she got married into my family, the Budnick family. But let's look at Heidi's family. There's Joan Irving. Yes. Last time I heard of her, she had died and left Heidi out of her estate for some reason because, as I remember it, we had employed Leon Hayes in Spokane, Washington, to send a letter to Tolman, her previous her attorney. Yeah. Could you call Jeff Smith, the district court judge in Spokane County? As I remember it, I still owe him $40. Pooch, pooch. Now, I would think that any judge that has any knowledge of this fraud, son of a bitch, I'm going to sue every judge in the state of Washington and all court officers. Do you understand? Now, let's see. Heidi Lee Budnick. Yes. Married into the Hodges family. There was Tim Hodges, isn't that right, Jess? Pooh. And then there was Lucy, the Jehovah Witness aunt. Yes. And there was Harold Hodges and Tim Hodges' father. Yes. Quite a clan over there in Brennan, wasn't there? Choo choo. And then there was the Bosma. See, Heidi had been married multiple times before we got married. And then Marion Waters, she seemed to be very familiar with these default dissolutions of marriage. She tried to do one of those in Clallam County. Yes, but I answered within the 90 days, and I noticed when she motioned for default, you denied her request. Did she try to do complain? Did she try to involve some sort of fraud in her previous dissolutions of marriage? See, I'm one of those that as a father, when you say that her former husband, Tim, was paying his $265 a month child support for Jessica Lee Hodges, I didn't believe it. And I know how the state feels about this, wanting to document everything in a dissolution of marriage, where I'm like, these numbers do not make any sense. And as a financial consultant, I do actually read pretty fast. Yes, he does. But why don't you get me all the dissolutions of marriage of every person, every individual that has had a child from a previous relationship, that should have the legal right to prove everything that is documented. Now, when you go through the actual birth certificates of every individual in this great nation, where one spouse said, "Yeah, of course, my ex-husband's been paying his child support," but I didn't believe it.